Good afternoon, I'm Deb Moeller.
And I'm Peggy Dickey.
And we are Community Engagement and Partnerships Coordinators with the Suicide Prevention Team here at the Iowa City VA. And essentially, in a nutshell, our role is to be out and about, working in the public, working with community coalitions, community stakeholders to build networks to work on suicide prevention. We know that about 17 veterans a day die by suicide is what the most recent research is telling us. And of those, over half have either never come to the VA for care or had not accessed the VA for care within the 2 years prior to their death. And so with that, our role has been stood up over the last few years across the nation to take the mission of suicide prevention outside of the walls of the VA medical centers and clinics to reach all of those service members, veterans, and their families that are out in our communities, to bring them in and to provide them the support and the care that they need and deserve.
Suicidal ideation is often described as when people are just beginning to have thoughts about ending their life. Ideation, it differs from attempts and completions in that it is thoughts. And to be honest, many veterans and Americans in general will have thoughts at one point in their life. The veteran population is one of those unique experiences that people have. Many of them have experienced wartime experiences. They have experienced separation, extreme separations from their families, separations from their supports, and exposure to extreme stressors that the general population perhaps has not had. Veterans will sometimes have greater transition points later in life. So when they come out of the military, they will experience the having to find a job for the first time that many of the general population felt that much earlier in their careers. They will experience changes in families, extreme changes in financial support. So in where you would go from expecting a paycheck all the time to now we're not sure where that is coming from. We're not sure what the health insurance is going to look like. And then there's also risk for legal involvement goes up.
We talk about lethal means safety a lot, and people sometimes look at you kind of funny when you start rattling off lethal means safety. Lethal meaning deadly, means meaning a method on how one would end one's life, and we know that firearms are a very real part of military and veteran culture. We also know 72% of all veterans who died by suicide did so by firearm, and that's common both in men and women veterans. And so we talk a lot about safely and securely storing your firearm. It has nothing to do with taking guns away. It has everything to do with putting time and space between a crisis moment, that crisis thought happening, and the ability to act on it. So VA SAVE is a basic introduction to suicide prevention strategies that often go over risk factors, things to watch for, what are risk factors, and then what do we do about that. SAVE stands for, S is recognizing the signs that someone may be struggling. A is asking the question, are you thinking of killing yourself? And not being afraid to ask it in that way. V stands for validating the veteran's experience and being just a good listener. And then E stands for encouraging and expediting getting help.
I think the biggest part of SAVE training, though, is just helping anyone feel comfortable asking the question and then feeling confident to know what to do after they ask it. By being able to say to the person that you're worried about, are you having thoughts about taking your own life? It puts it out on the table, and it just invites that conversation. It makes it a two-way conversation. And it symbolically means, okay, I'm going to walk with you through whatever the answer is.
People are worried that if you asked the question that it's going to lead people to truly act on it, and actually the research shows that it's quite the opposite.
If you can ask the question too, they are more likely to engage and seek out help. The first and foremost thing would be just to be open and to
to not be afraid to have the conversation. Educating about resources and not being afraid to find support for themselves, because it's a long, hard journey, and part of what we do is to not only care for our veterans, but to care for those who are there supporting them.
Biggest part of suicide prevention is people taking care of people. When we take that on as our responsibility, we can have a huge impact on outcomes.
You don't have to be a therapist, you don't have to be a counselor, you just have to be somebody who cares.